You don't mind me having my hat right here, bro? Should I slap?
No.
This is about us when we played at Cooley High, your school, your neighborhood.
Well, welcome to Detroit Table Talk. I am excited to be here today. I went and seen a few of Detroit mayoral candidates today. They did a forum with the African American Institute, Supermajority. And I was excited to be in the house to listen to some of the candidates tell us why we should vote for them. But we will talk about that later. Right now, I have somebody that is so special to me in the studio. I've been trying to get him over here for a bit, but his schedule, my schedule, but that's in the past because he at the table right now. I got Coach George Ward at the table with me from State Champions Podcast, and we're going to have a conversation today.
We're going to have a real conversation today. We're going to have a real conversation. If you brought me here, you're going to have one.
Oh, yeah. And I told him I couldn't open up my put my drink in my glass yet because I have to do it on camera.
Yeah, your folks got to see what you're drinking. It's legit.
They got to see what I'm drinking. That is water.
Yeah, let them see what
I don't want them to be contacting my pastor and tell myself, that look like vodka to me.
Yeah, and they got that guy on there and his State Champions Podcast. They have, they at the bar in the basement at Rab's house. So we want Pastor to know that you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be. You drinking water. I am too, Pastor.
So cheers. Thank you for coming to the table.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time.
We've talked about this before, and you and I did a podcast before when you had another podcast. Respectfully speaking. And I just wanted to come because you do some great things.
Thank you.
Great things out here, and I know you're trying to educate our people. So I'm glad to be here on this Saturday afternoon.
And when I'm not right, or when I'm to the left a little bit, Coach don't have a problem picking up the phone, calling me.
You know what? Hey, we always trying to correct somebody. That's right. Especially my people.
Good. But you know what? It's nothing wrong with correction when you know the spirit behind it.
Say it again.
That's right. So when he calls me, I'm listening.
In private. I don't go online. I don't go online and do it. You don't go online and do it. When you call yourself checking me sometime, you do it over the phone. You don't do it in public, and I can appreciate that. That lets you know that it's all love there.
Oh, yeah. And then when you respect and honor somebody, especially a man of his stature, sometimes we think we know everything. We want to be right with everything.
Yeah.
But when a real man is talking to you, you kind of just pull back and you listen.
Wow.
So whenever he's on the phone, I listen to him. And then if I still have some strong, a strong opinion about something, I'll say it. He'll listen to me,
no doubt.
And then he'll come back with his rebuttal. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we agree to disagree.
Sometimes we agree to disagree.
And sometimes
Most times
away.
We agree, though.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times
we agree.
Yep. And sometimes I walk away like, okay, it is what it is. he said it, and that's what it is.
Come on, now. I hope that's how it is sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And we're both educators, so.
Yeah, we try. I know you're doing a great thing, and, I try to play my part a little bit, too.
Oh, you play a big. Y'all, he's being so humble right now.
Not really.
It's good. But today we want to talk about our community.
That's right.
We want to talk about revolutionizing poverty. The Black community story. When I called Coach up and I was like, I want to talk about this. I couldn't get it.
You couldn't get it out quick enough. The crazy thing about it is, it's something that, me and my guys and a lot of me and my people, we talk about on a regular basis. And when I heard the topic, I said, well, Carmen got me. I know we had some games this week, but I knew I was going to make it my business to get here to you. And I'm looking forward to this discussion. And I hope, my prayer is that the people look forward to this discussion and have their ears open and really pay attention.
So you know what? I thought I was going to be able to share it to your page. You're going to have to do it.
I'm going to have to do it?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to share this to my page. We got to, We got to do that.
So give us a second. We just sharing.
We just
You know
sharing, but
how we do.
I'm gonna go on Detroit Table Talk. Y'all go on Detroit Table Talk too, and pay attention to us.
That's me. That's me.
I think it's imperative that we really have this discussion, and people need to learn, and we can share some ideas. I don't know if people can call in. I don't know what they need to do.
And
People
the call-in number is on the
give me call-in
screen.
number.
1248-508-3460. So please call in. Make sure you put comments in the comment section. We want you to be a part of the story.
So now what I should do now, I should just hit the share button and it'll automatically go to my page, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Let's get it.
Okay, so when we talk about the term revolutionizing poverty, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Wow. Revolutionizing poverty. I think the first thing that came to my mind was the fact that we've wallowed in poverty for a very long time as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand what this country has all been about since the day we got here.
Yes.
So when you look at it, free labor. This country was founded on thievery, and the true foundation of it was free labor on the backs of us, right? So when you look at it, I understand how things could go. I understand how we could be at the lowest of the totem pole at times, but then again, I can't understand it. So when you talk about poverty, I think the first thing that came to mind was most people hear money.
Yes.
When they hear poverty. The first thing I think is mindset.
I was just about to say mindset is the first.
It's your mindset. And my mother was a social worker for the state of Michigan. God bless her soul. God rest, make sure she rests in peace. But my mother always talked about being poverty stricken.
Yeah.
And being poverty stricken really, money is the byproduct of it, your finances or lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
But the mindset puts you in poverty. And when I heard that term and you talked about it, revolutionizing poverty, changing the mindset of our people from a financial aspect and think about how we're spending.
Yeah.
And that's why I knew I had to be here today.
Yeah. When I looked up the term, when I thought about it and I looked up the term, it says the term revolutionizing poverty in the Black community likely refers to a shift in how poverty is understood and addressed, moving beyond a focus on individual responsibility to a more systematic analysis of racial and economic inequalities.
It's a great way to put it. I love all of that. And it's real.
Yeah.
Right? It's real. But, my thought is, how do we get out of poverty as people? And we've done some things very well. No question about it. When you look at it, now you have more Black millionaires. We're doing some great things, but at the same time, when you look at us in totality, what do we see? And for me, I like to look at us in the neighborhood. See, I understand what our professionals are doing and how well people that have moved to the suburban areas. I understand how they're moving. I understand what got them there for the most part. But still, the average everyday colored folk, the average everyday Negro, I need to see how we're moving. And what I see every day when I work with our young people, see, I can look at it from a different lens. And I tell people that work in the plant, our mail carriers, whatever the case may be, they've done a great job for our families, for our community, represented very well. But the average everyday person in the neighborhood, how are they moving? When you look at our children, how are they moving? How are they thinking? And so when I speak to these young people, I can hear the parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen to the mindset when I'm talking to the child. And, when a young person tells me that, oh yeah, my mother and father, they spent $2,000 for homecoming. I'm thinking like, damn.
Crazy.
They've lost their mind. Now you can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And I can't sit here and tell you that my children have ever lived in poverty, nor will they ever. But I can say at the same time, I can guarantee you we ain't spent $2,000 on nothing.
Ooh,
so it's a tough spill for me. And I think we need to get to the bottom of it. And I think conversations like these are so necessary, especially with you being a Black woman.
Oh,
especially you being an educator, but being educated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is recognize, how do we get to the root of the issue?
it's hard to get to the root when people are not willing to have the conversation. A lot of people think, and I was just saying this to you, a lot of times we think we right about everything.
Everything.
We think we are well informed, and nobody can tell us what we're going to do with our money, how to spend it, how to go about saving it. But we push those same values off to our children, whether it's directly or indirectly.
Wow.
Because they watch what we do.
Talk about that.
I
need you to elaborate on that. Talk about it. The indirect message and because verbally we'll say some things.
Yeah.
Right. But our nonverbal communication, our nonverbal lessons, let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's start it off with, this is prom season coming up.
Yes, it is.
And most households, not all, but most households is led by a single mom.
Okay. We're gigging a little bit now.
And most households, we're struggling. Whether we have the conversation with our children, we sit them down and say, hey, this is how it is or whatever, we're struggling. But we don't communicate that to our children.
What conversation specifically are you talking about, Carmen? Let's go to it.
I'm specifically talking about like what I used to do with my sons.
Okay.
I used to give them everything they wanted.
Whoa.
Because I was compensating for their father not being in the home. So I felt like not only was I doing what I would do as a mother, a nurturing mother, I felt like I had to make up for their father not being present.
Okay.
So they got more than probably what they should have gotten.
Don't say probably.
Okay.
Don't say probably.
They got more than what they should have got.
Okay.
Especially based off of their behavior sometimes.
Boy, can I stop you for a second?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to tell you something, Queen. The one thing that drew me to you, and, obviously you are a neighborhood girl from our neighborhood, but the one thing that I could love and appreciate as my sister, as we got older, and as, I'm looking at it from the lens of I guess when we reunited, I was probably about 48, 49 years old, is your transparency.
Yeah.
So for you to say, you know what, not only did I make a mistake, not only did I make some mistakes, just, again, you took good care of your son. You took great care of your children.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Excellent care.
Excellent care of them. You provided them with a home that was conducive for education.
Yes.
And love.
Yes.
Faith.
Yes.
Right? And family.
Absolutely.
But you can sit here and say, you know what? I messed up as it relates to this. But they're doing well now. But still, you can look at yourself.
They're doing well, but I'm still seeing
the remnants
of me not putting my foot down in certain, times.
Okay.
Me giving them what I didn't think they deserved, just so they can be quiet, just so that they would love me, honor me, and respect me based off of what I was giving them.
Well, oftentimes what you did, sis, was made it where you were tired oftentimes, and not just from a physical standpoint, because you were physically tired at times, right? Emotionally, mentally. Yep. So mental fatigue, emotional fatigue is much worse than physical fatigue.
Yes.
So now you don't even want to have to deal with your son sometimes, because you shouldn't have to deal with them all the time. The father should be there to say, no, we're doing this. Come on, let's do this. Take some of the load.
Yeah.
You had to do everything. So sometimes
it's easier.
You don't even want to say pacify.
Yep.
But to pacify them, what you would do is say, all right, I'm going to give them this.
Yep.
Because I don't even want to what? I don't even want to hear their mouth.
Yep.
And that's the very worst thing that you can do.
Oh.
And it sets our children up for failure.
It does.
And when you talk about being a mother who was financially in somewhat of a position to do what you did.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it was like, I can see my bank account being depleted. I got it, but that don't mean I can afford it.
That's right.
Now, see, what we do as people, specifically our queens, what we'll do is, you know what? I got it, so that means I can afford it. You having 100,
so far from the truth.
You having $300 in your bank account does not mean you can spend $250 on some shoes.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you can afford it. You can't afford it. Now you can buy it. Buying something, purchasing something, and affording it, there are two totally different things.
And that's when we get back to what we see now coming up is the prom season. Just because you can get it don't mean that you can afford it.
Oh, man.
I see entitled children daily on Facebook. I hear grandmothers talking to me. I just had a conversation with a coworker yesterday, and she was saying how her granddaughters, they had to spend so much money on a prom dress. And then when it got to them, it wasn't quite the material that she wanted. So then she had to send it back. But because of the tariffs, they had to pay extra $350 just to send it back. And still not know if the dress gonna get here on time. And she was like, I'm just gonna give her the money. I said, but if you can't afford it, why are you giving it?
Because number one, I want you to understand this, and this is something that our women don't want to hear. It has to be said if we're gonna have this conversation, right? Well, what happens is this. Women are about how things look. They're about the optics.
Yeah.
Right? So, and people have said that, well, you know what? Social media has destroyed our young people. Mm-hmm. I can't say that those individuals that say that are necessarily lying. There is some truth to that. But I want you to think about this. What has social media done to the adults? See, the adults have really, really, really lost their mind. And you got to understand, Black women are the most competitive. Now you shake your head, yeah. I want you to let your listeners, I want our viewers to understand, as wonderful, our queens are wonderful. I ain't tripping. My mother was everything to me. My grandmothers were everything to me. My aunts, everything to me. But I will say this, I do understand the most competitive creature in the world is not a Black man.
Oh, no.
It's not.
And I think sometimes we are in competition and we don't even realize we're in competition.
What are you talking about? You can sit at a church, go to church tomorrow and you'll be there. You let little Susie come up in there and she got that dress on and it's fitting right. Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, it may be inappropriate for church, right? But the conversation will not be based on, what she shouldn't have that on. What'll happen is this. They'll look at her body, they'll look at what she got on, and there'll be a problem. So when you talk about the competitive spirit, oftentimes our queens are doing things for competition, and their child has to outdo their girlfriend's child.
Yep.
Their child now, because of social media, now my child my pictures got to look better.
Yeah.
My child's pictures have to look better than some of the other pictures that we've seen online. So it forces us to spend more money, and it sets up a mindset amongst our children that this is what life is all about. And I think the one thing that bothers me is, working in the school system, I've had the opportunity, and working in the juvenile system. I ran juvenile facilities for years. And obviously with me still coaching in Detroit Public School League, Martin Luther King, Junior Senior High School, 3200 East Lafayette, I get to see some of the homes.
Yeah.
Now listen to what I'm saying to you. I get to see how and where these children are living.
Yep.
And what I'm telling you is in most cases, the money that we spend on them, forget the prom, forget homecoming, the money that we spend on them and, on our children on a daily basis, it doesn't match how we're living.
Yeah.
And so when you look at 70% of our homes being governed and run by our queens, and Lord knows y'all are doing entirely too much because of us, because of the ineptitude of men.
You don't hear too many men admitting to that.
No, it's not. I can't blame a woman for anything other than if the chicken was burnt. You can't blame her. No, you can't. Listen.
Don't blame us the chicken burnt when we had to come and attend to you.
Well, listen, you better be here to pay attention.
So you better get that chicken.
You tending to me by staying over there. But so what I'm getting at, Queen, for real is we have put you in a position where now you got to concern yourself with your son getting a haircut.
Yep.
You realize how crazy that is?
Yep.
We put you guys in a position where now you got to get your son to practice.
Yep.
You got to get your son to school.
Yep.
You got to tend to his emotional. You got to tend to him and his girlfriend broke up. You got to deal with that. So you shouldn't have to. And I'll say this and I'll tell people this all the time. The load has gotten too heavy. So here we are. We put you in a position now where now you are responsible for the financial decisions for your children.
Mhm.
And that is above your pay grade.
I remember one time sitting at the table with my sons. You know, they were really, I think one was on varsity. They were both playing football. One was on varsity, one was on junior varsity.
Okay.
And I'm trying to juggle the two. And they're like, Mama, we need this. You know, Mama, we need new cleats. Mama, we need, you know, jerseys. It's going to cost this much. We need. And I was like, oh, my goodness.
It was a lot.
And that's not even, I mean, that's just for the sports they were playing. And they were playing like 2 and 3 at a time.
Yes.
And, you know, that's not including some of the stuff that they just wanted, you know, in the natural realm.
Yes.
You know, the new video game came out,
No
you know, PlayStation 2.
I need a coat.
Well, they need this, they need that. And I told them, I said, listen, guys, it was like, you got it, Mama. So some just said, you know what? I have to show them. So when I got my check, I brought all the bills to the table and I told both of them to sit down.
God, dog.
And I said, okay, this is how much I brought home. I said, and I want you both to add up individually all the bills.
Whoa.
I said, and tell me what you come up with. I said,
and what we got left.
And what we got left. I said, now this is how much I got to pay this. Some stuff we can't pay off. Some stuff we have to pay a portion of it.
What you talking about?
You know,
some of the stuff we're going to pay. Some of the stuff we got to pay the next pay period.
The next pay period.
Come on.
So I was telling them, okay, like the light bill, we're going to put $50 on the light bill.
Yeah.
We're going to put $40 on the gas bill. And don't forget, we got to put the rent to the side so we can have some over our head. So after, you know, we did this exercise, the boys looked at me, was like, Mama, we don't got nothing.
You superwoman.
I said, so when I make stuff happen,
come on,
I'm making it happen because I want you to enjoy life, but I refuse to allow you to make me overwhelmed because I'm trying to give you everything you see your friends have.
Can I ask you this? So I know the first answer. Did you make them work once they got 16, 17 years old?
Yes.
Okay. I knew you did. How did you handle them working?
I didn't handle that well.
Oh.
I'm still a woman. So
talk about
it. Because I should have set them down and said, listen, without them knowing, eventually I did it, but not in the beginning. Okay.
No, that's good.
You guys are here more than me, you know, for the most part, because I'm at work and I'm at school. You want cable. So one of you going to be responsible for the cable bill. You know, and because y'all playing these video games, somebody going to be responsible for the light bill.
Okay.
I didn't do that. So I took on a lot while they were still spending their money on things that they desired and wanted.
Stop. Here we go. I'm glad you said that. And I asked you that for a reason. I didn't set you up, but I asked you for a reason. My oldest son is 34 years old. My oldest child is 34. My older son is 34. Okay. My younger son is 21. My older son, he's in Belgium right now, actually. He and his wife are doing great things, having a good time. He's a college-educated man, graduated Eastern Michigan University.
Okay.
My younger son playing college basketball down in Texas. When they got jobs, the first thing that we did, hey, this is how we're going to spend our money. So my 34-year-old, he couldn't wait. He was 15. He worked at the water park near our home. He was like, man, he couldn't. I said, well, no, dog, this is what we're doing. When you get paid every week, 50% of your money is coming in here. Now, what I will say is I didn't make him pay anything. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Me and Mama had that portion of it. But we're going to keep your money. We're going to keep 50% of it. You still are going to be responsible for your gas once you get your car. The little low maintenance, if something gets high, we're going to help take care of that. Don't worry about that. But what he said was, well, man, it's only going to leave me. How much money do you need every week? I want y'all to think about this.
Yeah.
How much money as an adult do we spend on a weekly basis?
Ooh.
So when I look at some days when I go to work, I say, okay, I had the opportunity to eat lunch at school.
Okay.
Okay, I'll eat there. And then I watch young people who say, I don't eat school lunch.
I hear it every day.
Now you listen to me.
Miss Evans, can you cook for us? Can you bring us something to eat?
It's astonishing for me when I hear young Black children say, I don't eat school lunch. And the one thing that I can tell you is the district has done a much better job at Detroit Public
They're
Schools.
getting
They've done a good job. But I will say this to you. You can't tell me that the Little Caesars across the street. What? You can't tell me that they have better cheese than the school. You can't tell me that and at King High School and in Detroit Public Schools, they don't even serve pork anymore. Right?
Right.
At school, we have salad, vegetables, some kind of meat, good sandwiches, a pizza that's not made with bread. I mean, it's better for you, the whole nine. And I have young people who will say, I don't eat that. But you'll leave school and go over to Little Caesars, and I can guarantee you their kitchen, if you walk back there, is nowhere near as clean as the kitchen inside the public schools.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we've done is allowed our young people to almost dictate how we spend our money on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone has set our young people up for failure.
Yeah.
So my question to you, Carmen, is how do we get out of this?
I think we need to start having some tough conversations with our children. First of all, taking accountability.
Stop. So you're a woman. You're a mother. Your maternal instinct kicked in right then.
Right.
Your maternal instinct kicked in right then. You said we need to have a conversation with our children. What do we have a conversation with our children? Our children don't have any money.
No.
So why are we having a conversation with the child? Why is that the first thing?
Because in my mind, it's like you have to prepare them.
Who's going to have a conversation with the child?
I would love, if I was married or if their dad was really active, for him to have the conversation, because it would take First, the conversation has to take place with the woman, with our parents. Because the one thing that I see is a lot of our dudes now, again, we are far removed from our grandfathers and the way they thought. Yeah.
As men.
Yeah.
Because we were losing our minds too now. We buying rims. We got young people inside the home. We got rims on our cars. We got the same outfit that some of our children have on. We fly like them.
But if we have two different households, the answer will be two different answers.
No, it doesn't make a difference. You can't have two different answers when a man is involved.
That's what I'm saying.
Because how he moves is how we move.
No, but what I'm saying, that's why I said we have two different answers. If I'm the only one in the household by myself,
y'all got to be unified in that conversation.
But he's not there. I don't have a man.
I live this the portion. Fellas, I need y'all to listen to me. Queens, I need y'all to listen to me. My sons, their mother and I divorced when my younger boy was probably 6 years old. Yeah. I still ran the household from this standpoint. Now, she highly educated, make good money for herself, take good care of herself. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm telling you is when it came to two sons, I made sure I took care of all of that. So I still helped run the household. Okay. So what I'm telling you is what was great about that is she was going to be on the same page with me. My job, my primary job was to make sure that I educated her on how to raise boys.
Okay. And that was good that she allowed you to, because these women, you can't.
And don't get me wrong. A woman that has a lot of drive, a lot of mouth too, right? And understands things from a financial standpoint. But what she did financially, we were always on the same page. But what she understood is that when he said, no, they don't need that. The man is supposed to put you in a position where you don't have to be the heavy.
I love that.
That's
what I'm praying for when I get married.
Let me repeat that. Well, your kids they'll be 40 by then.
But still, I still need that in my life because
your sons are accustomed to you
doing for them when they want me to do for them. So it's still relevant even in their 30s.
Even in their 30s.
You know, and sometimes I be feeling like if I had a husband, I hand the phone right to him and let him handle it.
I think the hardest part, I think one of the hardest parts when you talk about the poverty, the hardest part about all of that is, I think the man. We got a phone call.
Thank you for calling Detroit Table Talk.
Hey, free AD, free Joe.
Man, what up, boy? What up, boy? Hey, get at me, man. Call me later on. Hey, it's funny you said that. You can get them off. I think the one thing that's amazing about that, even that aspect of it, talking about two of my former players, is they got to change the way they're thinking. And I think that's the one thing I said. And I posted something the other day about, and for me as a man, as a father figure, can sleep well at night, understanding that I've given these young people everything that I could. And that's the same thing in this situation. When you talk about poverty, the father has to step forward and say, I'm not going to make it where the mother has to be the bad person.
Yes.
See, the father's supposed to go to bed at night understanding that tonight, nobody in the house is happy with me.
Okay.
The father has to understand that, you know what? The children, the cats, the dogs, the squirrels, even them black ants that's coming into our houses right now during this season, they're not happy with me. And I don't care.
Yeah.
Because what I do know, I'm not interested in how you feel right now. And I think financially, we put so much pressure on our young people, and the parents have allowed so much pressure to be placed on themselves because social media has said these kids are supposed to have this. When I see hooded sweatshirts, and I got a hoodie on right now. This hoodie is my hoodie.
Yeah.
Right? Me and Ralph came up with
Your
the logo.
product.
This is us.
Yep, your brand.
And Lord knows, Larita, thank you so much, Queen. Our people over at Alliance Prints, great job. They do everything for us. I spend about $40 or something for my hoodie.
Yeah.
I got kids coming into a school and tell me that a hoodie costs $200.
Yep. And the parents are buying it.
So let me ask you this. What message are you trying to send when you put a $200 hoodie, or I'm not buying a $100 hoodie for me right now. And I'll make enough money where I could. But what message are we sending, and how is that? So how we change the mindset is, first, understand, have the difficult conversation with the parent so the parent can be at ease, but you have the conversation with the children early on in life, making sure they understand that, listen, we're not trying to chase what everybody is chasing. And unfortunately for us, everything that goes on and you see all the likes and this, that, and the third, we are falling into that rut where we feel like we have to keep up with that. And our young people understand. I was a child. You were a child. I was a teenager before. I remember dudes coming into the school, they had the Gucci gym shoes on. I remember. And I said, well, hey, they kind of sweet. You see the green and the red. You got the two greens and you see the red down the middle on the back of the shoe. And other than that, it was a regular shoe. And the dudes that had on the Gucci shoes, hey, man, they getting a little more flavor. They getting a little more action. I get that.
But now you see where they are exposing, how much those shoes are really costing and how much, they have passed.
Well, it really has exposed us as people being foolish.
Foolish, yep.
One of my players had on a shoe one day. I go into the locker room and we're talking, and I just happened to look down, and it was last school year. And the young fella had on a pair of shoes, and I looked down and I couldn't believe what I saw. It was the ugliest shoe. And I mean this in a literal sense. No, listen, I'm not being an old person. I'm not that removed where I can't say, you know what, young dog got on something nice. That young sister got on something cold. I like that. I tell them, I said, that's cold. I like that. So I looked down, and all my players started laughing because they knew where I was going with it. I said, man, what the hell is that? And he said, coach, man, I got this I'm wearing these for homecoming. I said, man, that's the ugliest shoe I've ever seen. And his rebuttal was one thing. You know what he told me? Guess what he told me?
You hating?
Not that. He gave me some information. What information do you think he gave me?
How much they cost?
Talk to me quick. He said to me, coach, these was $1,000. I said, wait, I can't cuss on this set. I can cuss at mine. I said, well, this is harsh. I said, wait a effing minute. I said, what do you mean they cost $1,000? I said, number one, why did you give me that information? Yeah. That was my first statement to him. My first question. Why did you tell me how much they cost? I said, so in your mind, that validates the ugliness of this shoe. And so then I proceeded to talk to him even further. And he said, well, because, I said, man, who the hell? I said, your dad don't know that you spent it. He said, my dad bought the outfit.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, and then he proceeded to say, because again, he gotta let his boys know now, I'm cold with it. Some kid too. Smart kid. He don't need to do a lot. So he said, oh, we spent $2,100.
Jesus Christ.
No, we spent $2,100.
Oh,
so
for one night.
What are you talking about? It ain't even a full night.
Not even a couple of hours.
It ain't even a full night. So the one thing that I tell you is this. Oftentimes what happens with us is sometimes we didn't get the attention that we wanted. I'm just saying sometimes.
Ooh.
Stop, Carmen. Ooh, what? Talk to me.
I think that
I've heard women say ooh before.
I think that you hit something on the head. Spending money on material things, it's a status quote for us because we never seem to feel like we've been seen or heard. The way that we are seen and heard is we go out and buy expensive stuff.
Oh, man. And so it validates us.
It validates us.
And so now you get to say, well, you know what? Little George, he was sharp. And girl, I spent $5,000. And so you did that. But what education did you provide for that child? So I think everything that we should do, you alluded to it, is providing some sort of education for our children from a financial aspect. So when you talk about poverty, getting to what you really talked about, the poverty mindset. I've seen a student where they look the part, but when you walk them outside to mom's car, I'm not giving you some information that someone told me.
Right.
I'm providing you some information that we've experienced and you've experienced it too. And so you look and you say, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. I was running a juvenile facility. It was Xavier House over in Southwest Detroit, really E-Course. It was on the E-Course side. And I would do the drop-offs on the weekend. It was low security juvenile facility. And I would drop the young people off. And one of the young men lived on the east side of Detroit. And he was, when you went to his weekend outfits, because, you had to come, you could go home with some of your things, some of your real items.
Yeah.
Inside, you had a uniform on. So when I looked at his clothing, I'm saying, man, this dude fresh. I said, man, that's some nice stuff. I took him home.
And the house didn't add up.
I took him home on a Friday afternoon. I can guarantee you this. His clothes that he had in his bag.
And everything.
There's no question about it. And he would tell me, and I had an opportunity to speak to the mom. And the one thing that I tried to stress to the mother is, listen, I know you've set it up where emotions. I know you've set it up where his emotions run the household.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how we get into the problem, is the child's emotions at some point run the household.
It did mine for a long time.
Now what happens is you have to cater to his emotions and just forsake wisdom.
Yep.
And forsake understanding.
Yep.
And I think the one thing that we have to do, if we're going to revolutionize poverty, you said something to me the other day. You said, how have Black people made poverty look so good? Well, we really haven't. On the surface, we have. If you see them at the store, it look good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does. I see where people are paying $600 or $700 car note, and their rent is $800-900.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that don't add up to me. Where you lay your head should be worth more than what you pay for what you drive. And we spend, 10% of our time, 7% of our time in our cars, in our vehicles.
True. That's true.
So why do we place so much emphasis on that?
So how do we change the mindset or teach people what money really is? How do we teach people how to be good stewards of their money? Because in my mindset, revolutionizing poverty takes on, like you said, first we have to deal with the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be good stewards of our money.
Mm-hmm.
When we know that we don't have insurance money,
oh, stop. No, stop. I'm the outreach coordinator for Ceasefire Detroit. It's a gun and gang violence prevention initiative. We are via the health department, Detroit Health Department. They do a wonderful job. Thank God for them. But what I've realized when I go to these funerals now, and I want you to understand this, we go to the funeral of these young people. Sometimes you'll see a casket that is unbelievable. Oftentimes you see the horse carriage, whatever, you see all of these things. And I'm not, God bless the dead. I'm not doing that. But what I will say is this. The one thing that I see is the money that is spent. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the home and you say, well, this money could have been used for this. Well, what happens is, again, it's the optics. Yeah. We'll spend all this money on things that are very frivolous, things that really have no meaning. We have to, our mothers provided, the greatest thing in the world, our mothers provided love in our homes. Mm-hmm. When you went to grandma's house, you felt that love. Oh, yeah. And grandma's love was filtered through her being in the kitchen, her making sure you looked good, her washing, her providing lessons for you. The man provided the structure, order, discipline, the side. Yep. I talk about the side, structure, order, discipline. But the man provided financial understanding too. Yeah. So granddad would say, no, we ain't doing that.
Yeah. And that was the end of the conversation.
It wasn't. Now listen to me. I had 2 grandfathers and 4 grandmothers. I need y'all to listen to what I'm saying. I ain't talking about my great grandmothers. Both my grandfathers remarried, right? And all 4 of those women were nurturers, lovers, caregivers, right? Mm-hmm. But those 2 men provided understanding from a financial aspect. And they didn't have to talk a lot about it. Yeah. Right? The man has to get back to his place. So when you talk about finances and you talk about poverty, right? Yeah. A lot of our people were in poverty before. But guess what? We didn't live like we were poor. Now think about that. A lot of our people didn't have money. Granddad working, grandma had a little house. You wake up in the morning, you had grits, you had some eggs, some biscuits, rice, some salmon. Yep. So think about this now. Financially, in some instances, we have more money, but our kids eat ramen noodles.
Ain't that crazy?
Well,
ain't nobody cooking.
Well,
we ain't at home to cook though.
You ain't at home to cook.
We ain't at home to cook.
You're not at home to cook. So we provided so much for our children, and we provided so much for ourselves that we really have forgotten what was really needed.
But the more, one of our viewers said it as well, the more you spend, the more you got to grind.
What you talk about? Ain't no question about it.
And it takes us away from the household. And it
Who
does
was us?
not show.
Who was us?
It takes
the producer won't know.
It takes.
He won't know.
It takes mom away from the house.
Stop.
And that's where. Yeah.
How can I want you to hear what you said. Yeah. Mom here, house here. Yeah. How does that add up to success?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I have to say it does not add up.
So you will be in church tomorrow.
Success as far as you think I think I'm being successful because I'm accumulating more things, but the relationship and the parenting that I need to be successful in goes by the wayside.
I don't care how poor we were at times. Everybody's grass was cut.
Yes.
You think about this now. We've accumulated some things. Technology has gotten greater, all of that. But yet our lawns, the way we do things are not the same. So I think the mindset of the poverty, we still move as if we're rich and we're not. And, I was just listening to Jigga. I was listening to Jay-Z on the way over. You can't live as if you're rich. And then, when you die like a poor person. You start asking people for money. The family's asking people for money. Yeah. So I think the first thing that we have to do is get back to living within our means.
Yeah.
understanding how to save money. And now we've gotten more information. So you can invest money.
Yeah.
You can find out a way to invest some things and do some different things. But,
and maybe that should be one of the first things that we kind of tackle in our household. Even if we have to put some kind of cap on it for the next 4 or 5 months, we're not going out to eat. We're going to cook at home. We're not buying any expensive gym shoes, clothes. We're going to put it in a pot, and then we're going to see what we come up with. And then we're going to think about some investments. We're going to think about property.
So what is that conversation? So let me ask you this. And you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I think the older the children get, the more difficult that conversation is.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So I think the one thing that I do know is when you establish a certain type of culture is the children, and I always say my players really will regulate what goes on. Mm-hmm. When you establish a household and the children know, no, mama not doing that. You know what? No, we ain't doing that. The older children will let the younger children know, okay, this is how it's going to go. Yeah. So when you talk about having that conversation, you not just had a conversation, you display that behavior. Yeah. So it's not a big conversation because you have a lot of mini conversations. Okay. You have a lot of small conversations. When you go to the grocery store, we understood when we went to the grocery store. When mama would say, no, we're not getting that. We're going to get this. We're going to get this brand. All right, you can get some little sugar in it, but we're going to get this brand of Frosted Flakes. Yeah.
Or we're just going to we're going to get cornflakes.
You're going to get cornflakes. We're going to cut some bananas up and put them in there, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We did that. How is it that the child began to get everything that they want? So I think when we get back to our roots, and I think that's the hardest thing, and it's not just from a financial standpoint, we have to get back to our roots. So, but the major thing is changing the mindset, changing the way we move, and not being so concerned with what everything looks like. The first time that I saw, MTV Cribs.
Oh yeah.
Listen to me. I'm north of 50. Okay. Right? So you're a little bit younger.
No, I'm 53.
I know. Okay. I ain't want to tell you business. You can't be telling no one.
I just turned 53.
Did you?
Yes.
God bless you. I'm 54. I'll be double nickel in August.
Okay.
And looking at it, you look at it and say, okay, how do you move? How are you supposed to do things? What type of conversation do you have? You got to say to yourself, all right, this is the conversation that's needed. We got to have this early. No, we're not doing that. And this is why. Yeah. You don't have to have the big conversation. When you tell your sons, hey, no, we're not getting them. And if you want those, and no, we're not doing that. I saw people getting up early in the morning at 3, 4 in the morning. My 34-year-old, he comes to me one day and he says, hey, his homeboy, Xavier, that's not the same number, is it? No, don't even worry about it. Same number. I mean, his boy is going in the morning to get some Jordans. So he said, Dad, we're gonna get up at 3:30. We're going to the store. We're gonna stand in line for some Jordans. And I said, what? I said, wait a minute. Well, no. I said, wait a minute. I said, so it's hard to get you up in the morning.
For school.
No, at 6:30. You wallow around sometimes. And then I got to come in there and say, man, you better get up. Turn it over one more time. I'm going to do something. But yet you're willing to tell me you're going to get up at 3:30 and you're just going to go stand in a line?
For some gym shoes.
Listen, we ain't doing it.
I did it one time for my sons. I don't even know the name of the Jordans, but they were black and red. Mm-hmm. Platinum leather.
They cold.
Really nice. And I said, I got to do it. It's my sons,
2 of them.
Stood in line.
How much you spend? Carmen, talk to us. How much?
I don't even remember how much I spent, but what I tell you was.
Yes, you do.
That was the craziest thing ever.
How long were you in line?
We were in line for about 4 or 5 hours.
So let me ask you this. What message did that send to your sons? So let me say this to you. The message didn't just send to them, oh, my mama loved me. What message did that send outside of the love that you have for them? Because you love your sons much more than I love mine, obviously. But go ahead. Yeah. What message did that send to them?
that I was the message that I was given was that I love you so much I'll stand in line
Okay.
for you.
What else did it send though?
That
Because I would have stood in
I
line
don't
if they say, hey, look, Dad, man, we having a science project. You laughing. Because this is what I do know.
yeah.
If they'd have said to our kids, hey, look, man, you got to get up to King. You got to be here by 4:30. You got to be here by 5:15 in the morning. You got to get this book. Do you know how many people that have stood in line for the Jordans would have called the school and said, I ain't doing that. Why we got to do that?
Yep.
We're going to call the superintendent. You know how many people would have called the superintendent?
And how many emails he
How many
got?
emails he would have received? So I'm asking you, what message do you think that sent your sons, other than you love them?
That it was irresponsible,
No,
financial.
they don't think it was irresponsible.
But I'm saying that's the message that it sends to them, that I was irresponsible.
What it shows them is, guess what? Because you're a grandmama now.
Yes.
What do you think your sons are going to do?
Do the same thing that I did.
You better cut it out. So the poverty mindset.
But which is true, because this past
You ain't got to
Christmas,
tell me.
my grandbaby is 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He just turned 7 December the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas is December the 25th.
You ain't got to tell me 19 days.
He got
behind
shoes
it.
for his birthday, December the 6th.
Yep, less than 3 weeks away.
Christmas,
Guess what?
I think he got like eight or 9 pair of gym shoes.
Now let me ask you.
That's just gym shoes.
Let me ask
I was like, little boy.
So this is what I do. Know. Between the grandmother,
Yes.
because Latoya and I, we got 3 grandchildren.
Mhm.
All right. 15-year-old, we just took him to the Final Four in San Antonio. Had a
Mhm.
great time. That's kind of where our money's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Memories.
Yes. That's where my money goes.
My money. If I'm gonna spend my money, it's gonna be memories.
Yeah.
I'm taking the whole crew. We're gonna go to Niagara Falls, right? But we went to the Final Four. The one thing that I do understand, and I'm looking at my 34-year-old, he's doing the same thing with his son, right? Now, what his mama is doing, at times she's sneaking, do some different things, and
Mhm.
it's, but what I'm telling you is the conversations don't have to be as severe or as
Yeah.
deep when you stress and show them through your actions. So after I told him, no, we ain't standing in line for that shit ain't that important. He got a frown face. I don't care. Now I tell you this, I better not look at your face and see a frown too much.
But see, that's dad. Mom, they frown at us. It pulls on our heartstrings.
So I think, but you can't let it, because it pulls on your heartstrings, but it's pulling on your wallet.
Yeah, it does.
So now as we move forward, even the way our children, now on their birthdays, our children are going to get crab and lobster. Like, I didn't know that you could, first of all, I'm allergic to shellfish, so I guess that helped, but none of my friends had
Me
lobster
too.
and crab.
Allergic to shellfish.
None of my friends even thought to ask for that. So I hear 7-year-olds saying on their birthday, hey, I want a seafood boil.
Yeah.
All of those kind of things are totally, totally irresponsible when it comes to our young people. And people can say whatever we want to say. Now again, okay, on your birthday.
But does that perpetuate a poverty mindset?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the one thing that you could do now, because you said it earlier, I didn't say it. People, Detroit Table Talk. I didn't say it. So y'all can't be mad. Y'all can't be mad at G Ward. Y'all can't be mad at Carmen Evans and say he can't come back on the show. I can come back on the show.
Yes, he can.
I got my own show too.
Yes,
But here's
he
the
does.
thing. Here's the thing. The one thing that we must understand is we have to send messages early.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I was just
And-
talking to my grandson about that, the 7-year-old. He texts me every other day or something like that and say, cash at me $10.
Stop.
Cash at me $20.
All right, so what does he do around the house? Because I got a story for that. Go ahead.
Now, you know what? Now, in his defense, though, he's a straight A student.
So?
I know, but listen, this is what Nana is saying. He's a straight A student.
So?
He's I call him my All-American. you know.
I know. I've seen some of the clips. So
All American.
go ahead. So
when he say, can you catch at me $20? I literally had to have a conversation with. I said, listen, and don't get mad at me, people. If you do, I don't care. But I had to say, listen, we're not going to keep giving all our money to the white man.
No. What did he want? When he calls and asks for something, what does he want?
Robots or something?
Roblox.
Yeah, whatever. The video game thing.
The video game, Roblox.
That and then some other game. You buy stuff, you buy clothes and hats and stuff.
Let me ask you this. Does he call the granddaddy for that? And I'm sure the rationale is different why he doesn't call as much to the granddad to ask for that. But he calls you and asks you all the time, right? Why do you think he calls you?
Because I'm not.
Do we think does he think that you've invested in Roblox?
No.
You get a discount?
No, I don't.
You don't miss the Roblox?
I don't think so.
So what happens is this. My grandson, my 15-year-old grandson, plays football at Belleville High School. My guy, Red, I call him. He wants lunch some days.
Okay.
Guess who he's called? Guess who he calls each time? Granddaddy. What? No, he's never called me.
Oh. So he calls grandma?
Guess who he called?
His mother?
Mimi. Can I have Mimi, can I have $20? I want some lunch. So about twice a week, once a week, he called Mimi, right? And guess what her rationale is? Oh, you're a good kid. He's an honor roll student. He does good. He's good looking. He's smart. That. I don't care about that. What the hell else should he be getting? In 2025, we don't even have to go to the library. We ain't got the Dewey Decimal System and all that kind of shit. We don't have to do any of that anymore. So a kid getting good grades that lives in a wonderful home, attached 2-car, attached garage to the house, all that. You're saying to me that we're giving them something because they're succeeding at something that's going to be beneficial strictly to them. Now, what are you giving them money for? And again, for lunch, Roblox, they calling you. So I tell my grandson, look, man, I'm about to power rake your grandmama's yard. This is factual information. I ain't making this up. This is 2 weeks ago. I'm about to power rake your grandmama's yard. I need you to meet me over there. Get yourself there. Be there at this time. I done rented the power rake. I'm power raking the grass. I'm looking up. I said, God, dog.
He ain't made it here yet.
So where's my grandson? My grandson, he finally answered the phone for me. I don't need to go into detail what he said and all of that. He didn't say, Granny, I ain't coming or nothing like that. But he tried to weasel. Well, I had to tell him, dog, you're not helping me. I'm a grandfather. You ain't helping me. It's about your grandmama. So for me, as we are giving, we're not teaching.
Yeah.
So the young fella, at some point, see, I don't care if you're the mother or the grandmother. At some point, I had the privilege of being able to provide some sort of care for each of my grandmothers. At some point, I provided that, right? Mm-hmm. I could never give back the love. This is the thing that we must understand about finances and raising our young people and raising our young boys to be what they need to be as men. I could never provide for them, my grandmothers or my mother, what they provided for me from a love standpoint. I could never give them enough money for everything that they've done. Your grandson will never be able to repay you for all that you've done for him, right? But as a man, he's supposed to be able to take care. And when you look at it as you giving from a financial aspect, what we are missing out on is the opportunity to teach him about finances and responsibility. And I think the irresponsibility is what we're looking at in our community from a financial aspect.
I said, I did my sons the same way. So I'm going to do my grandbabies the same way. I don't know if every bank has it, but the credit union that I'm in, DFCU, Dearborn Federal Credit Union, they have classes for children. Okay. And they teach them about finances. They teach them about, saving and spending and teach them how to balance, their accounts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to enroll in that class so that while he's young, he can get it. Now, he's one thing about my 7-year-old grandson is he will work. like his papa own buildings and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So, he'll go over there. He'll say, Mama, drop me off so I can go
I love it.
make some money,
I love it.
with Papa. And because he's part of a part of it or own a motorcycle club.
Okay.
He goes there, he cleans up and stuff like that.
I love that.
And his granddad gives him money, but all those club brothers and stuff,
They help give him money
give
too.
him money.
They take care of him. That's right.
Take care of him. So we just have to now teach him that all of it can't go to Roblox.
All of it, and first of all, even when you give the young people something, take some of it back. Even when if you give them $20, say, okay, well, look, you want $20, but this is what you should spend on that.
Okay.
I think there should be some conversation each time that eliminates the big conversation, right? Each time a young person receives some money, when they get money on their birthday, when they get money for Christmas, I've seen some of my players they've received, they get older. Mm-hmm. They come from good families. You'll look up, they got $500-$600. They got $1,000 for Christmas. Wow. And the parent will allow them to keep their money. That's a blessing. I'm an only child. All right. So I understand. And people would give me things and give me money and all of that. And my mother would be like, well, this is what we're about to do with it here. I'm going to keep this over here. Mm-hmm. And I think constant financial education is highly important. And then once they get older, you can get into, okay, you need to start thinking about buying a house. You need to start thinking about investing your money and what to invest into and doing your education on stocks and things like that. But I think that conversation starts early. It is difficult. It is extremely difficult to change the way a person thinks when they've been doing something wrong for 20, 30 years.
I know last year I took my grandson on a weekend, took him to open up an account, a savings account.
I love it.
And he got to learn about you put something in, you get something out.
You can get some out, yes.
What you get out is a prize. Every time you come and you deposit some money, the bank give you a prize.
There you go.
So he likes that. And then he can't get to it.
So my question to you is...
And someone said in the comment, I got my son in crypto. He good.
Really? How old is the son?
My grandson's 7.
Oh, you got your son in crypto.
No, my son said he got his son.
Your son. And you know what? That is how you do it. And you continue to have conversations. You start having conversations about credit.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You say, okay, look, I'm gonna get a credit card, but I'm gonna make it where this person has access to the credit card. We're gonna pay this. You give them a small amount that they can spend. You make sure you pay it back, and you have conversations about credit. And those things, because the one thing that you want to do, regardless of where you live, where you stay, you want to make sure that our children, when we're gone, they're responsible and they're accountable. They hold themselves accountable. Yeah. And oftentimes what we've done is we've set them up to almost believe that we're going to live forever.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know if that's anybody else's concern. I know that's my concern, that when I'm gone, I want to make sure that they're able to move on with me not being here, that they're fiscally responsible, that they can take care of their children and, everybody will be good.
That's the biggest thing. But again, I think what we can do is when you talked about poverty, and that was so deep to me when you mentioned that term. Just providing an environment that makes sense financially, not wasteful.
But do you think that other cultures look at us and they don't put much stake in us because we make poverty look good? So they look at us like, oh, they're fine. So we don't really have to do that because, they can make $1 out of 15 cents.
Well, I will say this to you, and it is unbelievable that you just said that, but we really don't make it look good. We really don't. Like we do on the surface.
I would say on the surface we do, because when you look at somebody and they got a $80,000 car they driving in, and just maybe they living with their mama or their daddy, but they driving an $80,000 car.
Nobody respects you more because of the car you drive. Like I need you to really, really, really understand that. And that's something that we have to
Yeah.
get away from. And
Yeah.
that's what I was saying earlier. We don't make poverty look good because the only people that are impressed with what they see is us.
Yeah.
I've worked with European Americans, a number of them,
Oh yeah.
and they've never said, "Oh man, God, you got to have some money," because they don't look. The Arab American community, they don't look at us and think, "Oh man, you driving a hell of a car. You must." No, they don't even judge that. As a matter of fact, if they do judge it, they're probably thinking, "Oh, he another fool. He got a $90,000 car."
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for me, what I do understand about everyone else, they will not pass any judgment at all by what they see.
Yeah.
They listen to you. They see how you interact with your family. And then what you drive and what you wear means absolutely, positively nothing to anyone else other than us.
That's so true.
And it's the crazy thing about it. I've seen so many guys in our generation, and we grew up that Finkel area.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen so many guys that have risked life, limb, and freedom to look good.
To look good.
A couple of my players, as they get older, I recognize, I say, okay, I kind of see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. This ain't what you want to do.
This ain't it.
This ain't it. But the poverty mindset, we'll give that kind of respect and we'll give this kind of love to an individual who is, in our minds, making some money. But really what he's doing is setting his family up for failure, right? So,
especially when he can no longer be there to be
what you talking about,
the provider for that family.
That's what you're talking about. So the poverty mindset. I know guys who have had $100,000 at one time, mm-hmm. $150,000, mm-hmm. $80,000, and didn't say, well, you know what? It's time for me. I'm gonna go take care of some things, and I'm gonna start a business. Yeah, I'm gonna just go get me some lawn equipment. I'm gonna do some different things, but
that mindset don't. But our mindset don't allow us to think like that. You got, and back in the 80s, mm-hmm. When the YBI and all that was out there.
When guys were making a lot of money
out here in the street.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Hustling.
Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily,
well, say it. No, don't dance.
I just think that we have glorified the street life so much that just being a father, a mother in a household,
that ain't sexy
raising
enough.
Your family, it's not
sexy.
Good enough.
It's not sexy, but it's everything to me. It's everything to me. And when I look at us and I look at our children, I just said to you earlier, I see the young people come into the school and they'll be eating hot chips at 7
every day.
In the morning. They'll be eating hot chips. They'll be eating,
Takis.
What's them new things?
Takis.
What the hell are those?
Something that's eating up their stomach lining.
Takis. Like what? You eating Takis, you eating pop, you drinking pop, and yet, and when I say to the young people, I say, well, you know what? Why don't you get some eggs in the morning? Why don't you? I don't eat that. Because you know why? We done changed their palate. We done messed their palate up so much they don't even eat regular food now. So
one of my kids, I cooked some food last week and I took it because I don't take my prep periods or my lunch. I let my kids come in and, every day they eat lunch with me.
There you go.
So I usually will cook or bring them some food and stuff. And one of the little boys, two of the little boys sitting there telling me, Miss Evans, this is so good. My mama don't cook for me like this.
Stop right there.
I was like, what?
But guess what? Them young men look good though. Mm-hmm. They fresh.
Yep.
So
but they ain't fresh like that. But
no, they ain't fresh like that.
You can tell they probably their household is probably struggling.
Yeah. It's no way in the world we can continue to move as we're moving, spending the money that we're spending, right? We can't continue to spend the money that we're spending on frivolous things. And the one thing that I want Black people to understand is this, and this is just reality. I said it earlier. We were brought here for one reason and one reason only. One reason and one reason only, free labor.
Free labor.
So once that
and then when you go to prison, they still get free labor out of you.
What you talking about? So you go to prison, they get free labor out of you. But I want you to think about this. Once free labor was over with, at least quote unquote free labor, we don't realize that they have still tried to figure out a way to make it where your labor still pours into their economy.
Yep.
So it may be not free labor. You can kind of go over here and live where you want to live and all of that, but they're still trying to figure out a way for you to be a prominent person into their income. And what we've done is said, you know what, I look at us and I look at our shoes and I'm looking at, and again, you're around some European Americans and I'm thinking, wow, they don't even buy these shoes.
They sure don't.
No.
I was
No.
this week. The people who own the mall
Mhm.
that I'm a security director at one of my jobs, they come down, once a year just to check on their investment, their property.
Mhm.
But when they come in, they may have on Wranglers.
Man, what you talking about?
They may have on Levi's
Yeah, no, yeah.
and a white crisp shirt,
That's it.
button-up shirt.
Yeah.
They're not coming in with Gucci,
No.
Louis Vuitton.
Listen, I've seen more Alexander McQueens and some of them ugly ass shoes with them fat laces in them now that they wearing that cost $1,000 or $600, $700, $800 and all of that in some of the poorest neighborhoods that you could believe. I've seen Alexander McQueen's on a young person that's catching the bus. Now I want you to, I need you to listen to what I just said to you. These young people catch the bus to school, and thank God that they come to school. I ain't tripping on that. But financially, and see, our lack of financial responsibility pours into the child's self-esteem.
Yeah.
So the poverty mindset is not just about the money. It's about the mindset of this young person whose life and everything about them is based on what they have on, and more importantly, how much we pay for it.
Mhm.
And if we don't have those conversations, if we don't get back to being how grandma and grandpa were, if we don't change that, then you're going to find yourself, because again, the next generation is going to be worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need you to understand that.
I have a coworker. She's of a Muslim, and
All praise due.
I look at their household and how it's ran.
Mm.
Now she's an educator.
Mhm.
She's an educator for the system that we are in.
Yeah.
Her mother is an educator for the system that we're in.
Okay.
I'm not sure what dad do. I don't know if he owns a stove.
Oh, he do
a
something.
gas station. He owns
They
something.
do something.
And then the brother is at home. So all of them are in the house together.
Absolutely.
When that mom get paid, the sister get paid, the brother get paid, it goes into one pot. Daddy pays the bills. So he pays their car notes, their insurance, and stuff like that.
Damn right.
Now, she was telling me how they have credit cards
Mhm.
in their name.
Yeah.
Daddy pays for the credit
Credit card.
So when she moves out,
What you mean her
and then
credit
she
gonna
gets
be?
married, her credit
Stop.
is through the roof now.
Stop.
But not only that, the man that marries her have to pay a dowry to the family.
What you talking about? No question about it.
Every summer, they leave Michigan and they go to Dubai.
They go home.
They
yeah.
have a mansion down
Oh,
there
no
with
question about it.
butlers and maids
No
and stuff
question.
like that.
No question.
The father is teaching them about finances.
Sometimes he ain't got to say a word. He's showing them.
He's showing them.
He's showing them. Well, and not only that, where do they live?
They live in Detroit,
And they live near their people.
near their
Right.
people. Yep.
So here's the biggest thing. He also spends his money with his people.
Yep. Yep.
So we are talking about educating our people. We were going to get some ice cream one day. My son and my only daughter, my middle child, the boy that's in school right now, and my daughter, a 14-year-old student, goes to Cass Tech, my baby. And when we got in the truck, we're going to get some ice cream. And my son said to me, this how I know they're paying attention. My son said, let me guess. And he cracking a joke. Let me guess, we're going to the black-owned ice cream place.
Absolutely.
Shit. I said, oh, you damn right. You damn right. And he laughed. He was, I'm just playing, Dad. But his homeboy was in the car with us. And I think what he was letting him know, like, look, this is how we roll.
Yeah.
This is how we roll. And for him to say it, it let me know he's paying attention.
Mhm.
And oftentimes what we really refuse to believe and understand is that our children are paying attention to what we do, especially financially. And if you don't give them great habits, if you don't give them great understanding, what will happen is they're going to carry bad habits with them, and the forces of evil of today, the forces of social media of today, and everything that goes on within our community and the frivolous, crazy spending. If you don't get in front of it, society's going to teach your child how to spend their money. And you don't want that.
And I think, and I just want to speak to the parents, if I can. I know we're coming up to prom season. We're coming up to graduation season. But I really want you to consider not breaking the bank to make sure that child's 4 hours away that he or she gonna be away from you, is costing you your mortgage and your car note.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. No, and I
red bottoms. If they can't even afford red bottoms themselves,
stop it. We don't. Our kids don't.
$2,000 and $3,000 dresses. That's. I mean, they rent these halls with all these balloons, and
they rent a hall for a send off.
For a send off when
if you can't have the send off at home.
If
you can't have the send off at home, you damn sure can't afford to have it at a hall. I'm gonna say that to you.
I hear exactly what you're saying.
Say that to you people. If the mortgage that you pay, if you don't pay a mortgage to a wonderful enough home to just have people, if you don't feel comfortable with the people in the yard and you've done some great things around your home, if you can't have the send off at home, then you don't need to rent a hall. That's money that you're using to rent a, look, have everybody come. We can stand in the yard. We can stand in the driveway. We can take some pictures. You can give them a little chicken or something. I ain't even in agreement with that. But okay, if everybody want to stay 2-3 hours, that's their business. But damn it, you ain't got to get everybody full.
That's right.
You ain't got to spend an extra $1,000 or $500-$600 on your child's send-off. I'm going to tell you that now. And you have to pay attention to how you spend your money. But more importantly, why?
Why?
And
a lot of them that are not even graduating on honor roll status. Half of them are barely graduating. And you spending all this money on send-offs.
Listen.
A lot of them ain't got accepted to not a college.
My sons were going to college. They were on their way. At the time, each of them were 17 when they graduated from high school. They already had a plan. We knew what was going on. I didn't give a damn. It was only so much money we was going to spend anyway. Like, I'm not going to reward you for doing what you're supposed to do. And oftentimes what we'll say to ourselves is we'll make the excuse of, well, he's a good boy, or she's a good girl, and that, damn that. What are they supposed to be? Yeah. Carmen Evans, you're doing a wonderful thing in the community. Yeah. You're taking great care of your family. Your children and your grandchildren are supposed to be good. Yeah. They should be good. So you spending extra dollars on them for doing what they're supposed to do? That sounds foolish. Do you get a bonus? Now I want you to think about this. You very rarely call in to work. Yeah. It's 5 days in the work week, right? Mm-hmm. What week have they given you a bonus for coming to work every day?
Nah.
I'm going to ask you again. You've been working a long time.
Gave me no bonus.
You've been working a long time.
My other job ain't never gave me
no bonus. They gave no bonus for coming to work every day. So what the hell do we look like giving our kids a bonus for going to school every day and just doing what they're supposed to do? It makes no common sense.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I think as we move forward, everybody, I really want us to look at some things, Black people, and say to ourselves, what is it that we're really trying to do? And what message are we sending to our young people from a financial standpoint? I want you to think about this. Are we so selfish? Are we so selfish that we neglect our children's future? See, oftentimes we'll say, well, they're not doing this and they're neglecting the child. No, you're not neglecting the child. Are you willing to neglect their future? Because we're not going to be here forever. Yeah. How do you think your child is going to be able to sustain all the foolishness and frivolous spending that you've done? You want to put them in a greater position when you're away from here. And I think that's where we need to be from a financial standpoint.
So before we close, I just want to kind of encourage parents to rethink your financial portfolio.
Mm,
You
okay.
know, I want you to make the main thing the main thing.
Whoa.
You
Make
know,
the main thing the main thing.
so one, you know, I really want people to look into some kind of life insurance because
Whoa.
that is a way that we can leave
Stay right there,
a
cameraman.
legacy.
Stay right there, cameraman. She preaching.
A legacy
She
for
preaching.
our children.
She preaching.
A lot of times we don't have these conversations. You know, with the gym shoes that you purchase for $200, you know, you can get $1 million policy. You know what I'm saying? $99 a month or $100 a month
Okay.
can go towards $1 million policy so that when you're gone, your children have something to show, you know, for it. That's how they do it.
Yep.
You know,
Who's they?
the other people.
Don't hide.
The white people.
Okay.
The white people. So we got to make sure that we look into life insurance.
Yeah.
You know, because ain't nobody collecting $5 on it no more. That's just crazy.
You
didn't spend all this money on clothes and shoes and this and that. Now we got to ask people to put $5 on it to bury you. That's just crazy.
I've again, me working for Ceasefire Detroit, I've seen young people put away, so to speak, in a way that you couldn't believe. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you know, some of our great people, Coretta Scott King. When you look at all our people that have passed on, Rosa Parks, they didn't go out like some of these people have gone out. And then at the end of it all, somebody will ask you for some money. And I'm saying, wait a minute now. I literally just saw you have almost a ice sculpture of this individual. I've literally witnessed you have a vehicle or horse and carriage, all of these things for this individual, but yet you will say you need some money from me. I've seen people risk everything that they've had to live a certain lifestyle, and then when they're gone, their mother and their grandmother have to assume the responsibility for the financial aspect of it. We have to do a better job. And the one thing that I'm saying, we can't run from this fact is we have to say to ourselves, men, stop putting these women in a position where they have to do everything. Yeah. And financially is one of those things that they're doing. And then we'll complain. Man, my son, he ain't need all that, no way. They babying him, they spoiling this boy. And then, no, she shouldn't be in a position to do it anyway. Because guess what a woman is going to do? She's going to spoil her. Mm-hmm. She's going to mess him up. And then when the child is messed up, you'll blame her for her financial irresponsibility as it relates to the child, more specifically the son, yet you're the one that really should be in a position to take care of all of that. Mm-hmm. I understood that financially, my son's mother, she was in a financial position to really do some things, right? But guess what? I wasn't going to let her. Yeah. I wasn't going to let her. One Memorial Day coming up as we close, I remember he was about 4, my oldest son. And I said, well, where are you going? Oh, I'm going, he's got to get a Memorial Day outfit. That's what the hell you mean? You got to get a Memorial Day outfit. His name not Memorial. No, we ain't doing that. And we're going to nip this in the bud right now. And I think when we have those conversations with the individuals, with the mothers, with the people who are running the finances, it lends to a much better household and it lends to a much better education from a financial aspect. And until we do that, we will continue to attempt to make poverty look good. Yeah. So what I'm telling you is we haven't made poverty look good. We've attempted to do it. And the people that are within the neighborhood will say, oh man, they fresh and all of that. And then you come to their house and it's looking like, damn, they ain't living good. Yeah. But they look good. That's the poverty mindset. We'll look good as opposed to living good. And until we want to live good and stop worrying about how we look, we're going to continue this conversation.
That's the word right there.
That's it.
That's the word. I love to have this conversation with you, Coach.
I love having this conversation with you.
And I hope no one got offended. I hope people really listen with an open heart to understand, you know, for us to address some of the situations we have to have tough conversations.
Let's say it again. You didn't create this. Y'all didn't have Detroit Table Talk to just have conversations that will make people feel good.
Yeah.
You tried to educate people.
Yeah, and this is not that. This is not this is not that.
No.
You can go over to somewhere else and they'll be
Yeah.
talking about, they'll be arguing back and forth to you about relationships and men and women and stuff like that.
No.
Here you're going to
trying
get
to
some
unify.
kind of information that's going to put you in a better place.
Wow.
So hopefully when you leave or you turn Detroit Table Talk off, you've learned a few things that you can improve in, that you can, redirect yourself in, and that you can make your life a little bit better. So today, I hope that you guys sat back and you thought about it. If you got children going to prom and graduating, don't go out spending all that money to impress people.
It's not necessary.
That's only going to be there for the 5-minute photo op.
And your child
Then
gonna wear
they're
that.
going back.
Your child gonna wear that outfit one time.
They're only going to wear it one time
Them shoes one time.
because they're going to college after that.
Them shoes one time.
Them shoes one time.
Y'all don't even,
And they don't even wear it for
We
the
don't even
whole
wear
night because they take their shoes
shoes
off
off.
because their feet hurt.
what are you talking to me about? You ain't even taught them how to wear them damn shoes. And you gonna spend $1,000? You gonna spend $600 on them? No, you crazy.
We got to do better.
We must do better.
When we know better, we do better.
You better talk to them again.
So we're going to continue to have the conversation because not just you guys, I have to change my mindset when it comes to certain things. And I'm already in a place where I'm doing it, but I want to share it with you and I want you guys to join the conversation. So every Saturday at 5:00, come on over to Detroit Table Talk. We're talking about something that's going to better our life. We're talking about history. We're talking about how we can get ourselves out of the position that we're in individually and corporately. We have each other back. We support each other. You can always call in. You can always put your comment in the section. And I just want to thank everybody who tuned in today. Dr. Batanji, my favorite listener, Richard Heath. Every Saturday since I've been doing Detroit Table Talk, he tuned in.
Really?
He tuned in, and I
love
so
that.
appreciate that. My cousin Doris, my buddy Dice, Stephanie, Yada Baby, thank you, Latanya, Jay, Mia, Sister Baylor. Some of your names I couldn't see, but I appreciate you for tuning in.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you have ideas or conversations that you want us to have
stuff.
at the table,
Stuff.
inbox us. And it's not always about the fighting, okay? Because we're trying to figure out how could we come together as one.
We got to stop being so divisive.
Yeah, I don't like it.
We got to stop being so divided. I think for us this week, our conversation is going to be centered around. Obviously, we saw the fight.
Yeah.
The young man fought, swung on the teacher. We're going to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about parenting and what we have to do a better job. Because what we saw is a young man punch another man. We saw a student.
It could have been his grandfather.
It could have been his grandfather. What we saw is the physical assault, but we didn't see the lack of parental guidance.
Yes.
What you heard is a young man who said, man, get yours in.
Yeah.
Telling another young man to punch another man again.
Yeah.
So black
Kicking
people,
them and stuff
black
like
people,
that.
we have to stop listening
And stop
to
circulating that crazy stuff.
and stop tuning into podcasts that are strictly here to entertain you.
Yes. Yes. That's the word. That's the word.
We always talk about State Champions Podcast. We talk about edutainment.
Tell us when your podcast come on.
Wednesday nights, 8:30. State Champions Podcast. Co-captain Raphael Peterson, obviously co-captain George T. Ward Jr. We've been doing this thing probably about 5 years now. And we have really, we tap into some things. You go to YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to State Champions Podcast. And, the beautiful thing about it is me and the Queen just talked about, this is not anything divided. She comes on Saturday at 5:30. Y'all pay attention.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
It was 5:30 for you.
Because of me. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on Saturdays.
Yes.
We on Wednesday night, 8:30. And we do Truth Telling Tuesdays also. And we really just try
and we support each other.
And we try to, and we always call it edutainment. We're going to educate you. We're going to have a little entertainment too.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about sports because obviously that's what you think it's about because of State Champions, because Raphael and I, that's what we've done is coached and played. But it's really about educating the masses.
Yeah.
And really helping our people. So we hope you tune in. And Carmen, any way we can help you, baby, we're going to do it.
And I just want to say before we close, Shador, got
Wow.
finally picked. 144.
Cleveland Browns, right?
Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns.
It pissed me off, but you know, it is what it is. I love it though.
Truth Telling Tuesdays this week. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna
Please.
talk about the Shedeur Sanders situation, and you know, we had one episode, the buck breaking of Kyrie Irving. The buck breaking of Kyrie Irving. That was their way. That was the owner's way, and the NBA way of trying to make Kyrie shut up. Right. So this is similar to what they did to Shedeur.
Yeah.
And we're gonna lend him all of our support.
We are.
He's got a proud black father, a real black father. He got a
I'm
real
looking for
black
merchandise
family.
right now.
Come on now. We're gonna do what we gotta do. We're gonna support this young brother. We're
That's
gonna make sure that this brother gets the opportunity that he deserves. And after it's all said and done, you know what? He was drafted to the NFL. You know,
and that's the bottom line. Whether you pick
Nah,
one
whether you
or pick
144.
144, you
Now he got to earn his keep. And the one thing that his father has done,
it's prepared him.
he's prepared him for this. So he's gonna be good. We're gonna celebrate Shedeur today.
We're gonna celebrate him.
Let's not look at this brother like, man, damn, woe was me. That's what we do to our young black boys.
Yeah.
We make them victims. He's not a victim.
No,
It's a hell of an opportunity. And now the only thing that he has to do
it's show up
is
and show out.
That's all he got to do.
We'll see you next Saturday at Detroit Table Talk.
Y'all
Love
be
you.
good. We love y'all. Appreciate you.